There are stories that have never been told because those who tried to tell them simply disappeared. What if I told you that there is a secret society within the church, with powers beyond your imagination? The Shadow Priests are not just a legend. It is said that this secret order had a single rule: to protect the church's secrets at any cost, even if that meant breaking sacred vows. Sources suggest that the Order of the Shadow Priests may still be active, working to cover up scandals and protect obscure interests. If you think you've heard everything about church conspiracies, wait until you hear this story. What we've uncovered may sound like fiction, but there are clues and testimonies that suggest otherwise. Disappearances, burned documents, and whispers of forbidden missions make this story even more intriguing. What was once a myth may be closer to the truth than we ever imagined, and today we're going to explore every detail of this mystery. The Order of the Shadow Priests is said to have emerged during one of the most turbulent periods in church history, the Middle Ages, a time of explosive heresies, bloody crusades, and ecclesiastical power struggling to maintain its authority in a fragmented world. While the Inquisition acted publicly, another force, according to reports, was created to operate in the shadows. The Shadow Priests, as they came to be known, were not an official order. They were mentioned in coded letters, apocryphal chronicles, and witness accounts, sources that, curiously, either disappeared or were silenced over the centuries. Some historians suggest that the order was formed in response to threats that the church could not combat in the light of day. Occult texts, paranormal manifestations, heretical sects, and other secrets that could not be exposed to the public. Their purpose: to protect whatever was necessary to ensure the church's control over faith and the faithful. But here's the disturbing detail. There are fragmented records indicating that, in the name of this mission, the Shadow Priests may have studied and even used occult practices themselves, justifying that to defeat evil, one must first understand it. One striking example comes from a letter dated 1252, sent by an anonymous monk to the Vatican. He describes the existence of men dressed in black, sent to deal with cases of demonic presence and profane texts. This letter, according to scholars, disappeared from the archives just a few years later. There is also a German manuscript from 1456 that mentions priests who walk with the shadows, accused of burning sacred books belonging to heretical communities. Are these real proofs or just legends created to frighten and silence the church's enemies? What makes this story even more intriguing is that these rumors are not limited to the past. Document fragments from the 17th and 18th centuries again mention a secret force acting within the church, always on missions of extreme confidentiality. Whether myth, legend, or fact, one thing is certain: the traces of this story were never entirely erased. Like a shadow that resists time, the Order of the Shadow Priests continues to intrigue scholars and theorists to this day. If the Church used the Inquisition to combat public threats, the Shadow Priests would have operated on the margins of history, dealing with problems that could never be revealed. Lost documents and scattered accounts suggest that the Order had a dual mission: eliminate threats that could weaken the faith and protect secrets capable of shaking the foundations of ecclesiastical power. Among the supposed missions attributed to the Shadow Priests, the first and most well-known would be the combat against what the Church considered forbidden heresies. While inquisitors acted openly, the Shadow Priests are said to have been sent to eliminate resistance quietly and efficiently. There are mentions of entire villages that simply vanished after refusing to submit to ecclesiastical authority. Some of these communities were accused of worshipping pagan entities or possessing manuscripts deemed demonic. The question that intrigues scholars is, did the Shadow Priests act solely out of faith, or were there other hidden interests behind their actions? Another dark mission, and perhaps the most disturbing, would be direct contact with the occult. Fragmented accounts suggest that members of the Order studied forbidden grimoires, arcane symbols, and even participated in rituals that defied Christian dogma. The justification? Understanding the enemy to destroy it. According to some reports, in cases of demonic possession or unexplained phenomena, it was the shadow priests who took responsibility, not to perform traditional exorcisms, but to investigate and neutralize the evil in ways still unknown today. There are also indications that the order was used to cover up scandals and protect political interests. In the 16th century, for example, during tensions with the Protestant Reformation, rumors suggest that secret groups were sent to silence important critics and burn texts considered dangerous to the Church. Curiously, many of these critics disappeared without a trace. Coincidence or calculated action? Finally, an even more sinister mission looms over the rumors: the custody of sacred and profane artifacts. Fragments of ancient writings mention the capture and concealment of items considered cursed or capable of contradicting the doctrines of faith. Some theorists claim that the Vatican possesses underground chambers where objects collected by the shadow priests remain hidden to this day, far from public eyes. Heretical relics, apocryphal manuscripts, weapons of the occult, all of this remains shrouded in mystery. After all, to what extent did the shadow priests act to protect faith or to control its shadows? The lines between devotion, power, and the occult seem to blur in every account. And perhaps that's why this order is so difficult to trace, because their mission was to erase any trace of their very existence. When we talk about the shadow priests, an inevitable question arises. To what extent is this story real? Did men truly exist in the shadows of the Church, dealing with forbidden secrets and dark missions? Or is all of this nothing more than legends, exaggerations, and conspiracies created over centuries? The truth, as always, seems hidden in fragments, lost documents, scattered accounts, and the deafening silence of the Church itself. Among the oldest records, there is a letter dated 1252, sent by a monk to an ecclesiastical superior. In it, the author mentions unknown priests who came at night, ordering books to be burned and forbidding anyone to speak of the event. The document, catalogued in the 19th century, mysteriously disappeared from the archives where it was stored. Coincidence? Perhaps. But there are other similar accounts where anonymous priests would suddenly appear to silence communities accused of heresy or witchcraft. Other intriguing evidence comes from accounts of exorcists and dissenting clergy. Father Gabriele Amorth, one of the Vatican's most famous exorcists, mentioned in interviews that hidden forces operate within the Church itself. Although he never directly cited the shadow priests, his words fueled theorists who connected these reports to secret missions by an occult order. Could these hidden forces be a veiled reference to the shadow priests? On the other hand, there are clear reasons to question all of this. Many records attributed to the shadow priests are based on apocryphal texts, oral legends, and writings without academic verification. Some scholars argue that the story of this secret order may be the product of speculation and conspiracy theories created during times of great religious and political tension. Yet there is one detail that makes everything even more unsettling: the Church's silence. When questioned about secret order stories, the Vatican has never officially commented, as if ignoring them were the best way to bury these rumors. But is silence a denial or a disguised confirmation? And so the line between evidence and fabrication remains thin. Was the order of the shadow priests merely a myth that survived time, or a truth so disturbing that it needed to be erased from history? We may never have a definitive answer, but what remains, fragments, testimonies, and silence, continues to fuel one of the most unsettling stories ever told about the Church. The story of the Order of the Shadow Priests leaves us with more questions than answers. If this society truly existed, what does it say about the Church's limits in its pursuit of power and control? And if it is still active, what secrets might it be protecting today? Were they guardians of the sacred or agents of a far darker conspiracy? Perhaps the truth is lost forever, buried along with burned records and silenced voices. In the end, the most unsettling thought is that these shadows may have shaped parts of history without us ever knowing. The Church, which many see as a symbol of light and redemption, may have relied on an invisible arm that operated in darkness. Reality or myth, the Order of the Shadow Priests reminds us that behind any powerful institution, there are mysteries that challenge what we believe to be true. And what do you think? Is the Order of the Shadow Priests merely a legend created to fuel conspiracy theories? Or are we facing a secret so disturbing that it should never have been revealed? Leave your opinion in the comments. We want to know what you think about this mystery. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about dark and intriguing stories, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming content. And of course, don't leave without checking out the video that's on the screen right now. I'm sure you'll love it. It's another controversial and surprising secret you need to know. See you there.